Amara Nkosi was buzzing with excitement. At 29, she had built a promising career as an interior designer in Lagos, and now she was 9 months pregnant with her first child. Her belly was round, her smile was bright, and she felt like life had finally come together. She couldn't wait to share this joy with her husband, Chike, and celebrate with his mother, Mama Ifeoma, who she had always tried to impress. The day started perfectly. Amara and Chike walked into Mama Ifeoma's beautifully decorated living room, the scent of fresh flowers and spices filling the air. There was laughter, soft music, and the clinking of glasses. For a moment, everything felt like a scene from A Perfect Life, until the first comment slipped out. "I hope you're taking care of yourself properly," Mama Ifeoma said, her tone sharp but polite. Amara smiled, brushing it off as motherly concern. But soon the comments kept coming, small, subtle digs about her choices, her career, even how she carried the baby. They were little words, carefully chosen, but each one pricked at her heart. Chike noticed the tension but didn't say much, his smile faltering as he watched his wife shrink slightly with every remark. Amara tried to stay calm, reminding herself that she was 9 months pregnant and didn't need unnecessary stress. Yet deep down she felt it, the cold undertone of jealousy and control in Mama Ifeoma's words. What was supposed to be a joyful celebration of life, and love was starting to feel like the first cracks in a storm that was about to hit, and Amara couldn't have imagined just how dark it would be. The lunch started off normally, with the sun streaming through the windows and the smell of jollof rice and peppered chicken filling the air. Amara tried to enjoy the moment, laughing politely at Mama Ifeoma's stories and sharing small updates about her pregnancy. Everything seemed fine, until the words came, sharp and cold, cutting through the warmth like ice. "You know, Amara," Mama Ifeoma began, her voice sweet but laced with accusation, "sometimes I wonder if you're really trying to take care of yourself, or if you're doing this on purpose, messing up your pregnancy just to get attention." Amara froze. Her fork hovered in midair, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. Messing up her pregnancy? On purpose? The words felt like a punch to the stomach, heavier than the baby she carried. She glanced at Chike, hoping for support, but he just sat there, silent, trapped between his mother and his wife. The silence was deafening. "Selfish," Mama Ifeoma continued, her tone firm, almost accusing. "That's what some people call it. You can't expect the family to trust you completely if you put your own desires first." Amara's mind raced. Every moment of care she had taken, every doctor's visit, every precaution for her baby, it all seemed to vanish under her mother-in-law's harsh words. She felt a wave of hurt and anger, but she forced herself to stay composed. Her hands trembled slightly as she set her napkin down, refusing to let her fear or frustration show. It was clear now, Mama Ifeoma wasn't just concerned or protective. She was manipulative, trying to control, humiliate, and unsettle her. Every word, every glance, every subtle judgment revealed a hidden agenda, a desire to dominate and belittle. Amara realized that this was more than a family disagreement. This was the first blow in a battle she hadn't expected, a fight for her dignity, her unborn child, and her place in the family. She swallowed hard, promising herself silently that she wouldn't let these accusations define her, and that she would find a way to stand strong, no matter what storms lay ahead. Amara's heart raced as Mama Ifeoma's words cut through the tense silence like a knife. "Leave. Now. I don't want you here another minute," she commanded, her voice cold and final. Chike opened his mouth to speak, but hesitated, caught between the woman who had raised him and the wife he loved. His eyes darted nervously between them, and Amara could see the fear and confusion in him. She felt a pang of disappointment, but she refused to let it break her spirit. Mama Ifeoma's threats were sharp, calculated, and Chike, overwhelmed, finally gave in. Before she could protest, security guards appeared, followed by a few relatives, their expressions unreadable, but their intentions clear. They began gathering Amara's things, her maternity bag, a few personal items, and gifts she had brought for the family. Everything she had carried into that house, every moment she had shared there, was suddenly being stripped away in front of her eyes. Amara's belly was heavy, her body aching, but it was the emotional weight that hit hardest. Standing in the doorway, watching the house that was supposed to be filled with love now feel like a battlefield, she fought back tears. The street outside was crowded with cars honking, people rushing by, completely unaware of the personal devastation unfolding on the sidewalk. She clutched her bag tightly, feeling vulnerable, exposed, and yet fiercely alive. As she took a deep breath, Amara remembered every late night she had spent building her career, every sacrifice she had made, every moment she had worked to create a life of independence and dignity. Mama Ifeoma could try to intimidate her, but she could not erase her strength. For the first time in that long, painful day, a spark of determination lit inside her. She would not let fear control her, and she would not let anyone, no matter how close they claimed to be, dictate her life or the life of her unborn child. Standing tall, despite exhaustion and hurt, Amara promised herself she would fight back, not with anger, but with truth, courage, and unwavering resolve. The street felt endless, but so did her determination to reclaim what was hers. Amara's phone buzzed with messages she couldn't bring herself to answer. Her heart was still heavy from the humiliation and fear of being thrown onto the busy Lagos street, yet she knew she couldn't stay in that state. She needed help, someone she could trust completely. That someone was Zuri Okoye, her best friend since university. Zuri was everything Amara admired: smart, fearless, and fiercely loyal. A lawyer and women's rights activist, she had spent years helping women navigate tough situations, from abusive relationships to toxic family battles. When Amara arrived at Zuri's apartment, clutching her maternity bag and trembling with exhaustion, Zuri pulled her into a tight hug. "You're safe now," she whispered. "Nobody can touch you here." For the first time that day, Amara felt a flicker of relief. Once Amara settled, Zuri got straight to work. "We're not just going to sit and let her get away with this," she said firmly. "We're going to show the world what kind of person she really is." She started digging into Mama Ifeoma's past, uncovering a troubling pattern: controlling daughters-in-law, stirring family conflicts, and exploiting the people who trusted her. Amara listened in shock as Zuri detailed stories of other women who had quietly suffered under her manipulation, realizing she was not alone. Zuri encouraged Amara to start documenting everything. Every text message, every email, every WhatsApp conversation, even small interactions that seemed harmless at the time. "Evidence is power," Zuri said. "If we can show the truth, no one can twist it." Not her. Not anyone. Amara, initially hesitant, began typing, photographing, and recording, slowly building a digital trail that captured Mama Ifeoma's lies, manipulations, and attempts to intimidate her. As they worked, Zuri reassured her friend that this wasn't just about revenge. "It's about protecting yourself and your baby," she said gently. "It's about reclaiming your life and dignity." Amara felt a spark of hope she hadn't felt since that humiliating day. The fear that had weighed her down was slowly being replaced by determination, a growing confidence that she could take control. For the first time since being thrown out, Amara felt a sense of strategy. She wasn't powerless. With Zuri by her side, she had someone who believed in her completely, someone who could guide her through the storm. As night fell over Lagos, Amara and Zuri continued organizing the evidence, planning their next moves, and envisioning a future where Amara could finally stand tall, safe, and respected. It was the start of something new, a partnership, a fight for truth, and a way to turn humiliation into strength. And Amara knew one thing for certain: she would not allow fear, lies, or manipulation to define her life or the life of her unborn child. Amara had spent sleepless nights thinking about what had happened, being thrown out of her home, the accusations, the betrayal. But now, with Zuri by her side, the fear that had weighed her down was slowly turning into determination. Zuri had a plan, and Amara trusted her completely. They began taking careful, deliberate steps to gather proof of Mama Ifeoma's lies and manipulations. With Zuri's guidance, Amara started secretly recording conversations and interactions with her mother-in-law. Every call, every message, every subtle attempt to manipulate her or discredit her was carefully documented. At first, it felt strange and almost intrusive to record these moments, but each recording became a piece of a bigger puzzle. A puzzle that would reveal the truth about the woman who had tried to destroy her peace and dignity. As she reviewed the recordings, Amara's mind drifted into flashback. She remembered the subtle ways Mama Ifeoma had tried to isolate her from Chike, planting doubts, twisting innocent comments, creating misunderstandings that made her feel guilty and unsure. She had almost believed it at times, the way her confidence had wavered under the constant pressure. But now, seeing it all laid out clearly, Amara realized the extent of the manipulation. It wasn't her fault. She hadn't done anything wrong. The truth was on her side. With each piece of evidence, Amara's confidence grew. She no longer felt powerless or trapped by fear. She could see the path ahead: careful, strategic moves that would protect her, her unborn child, and her life from Mama Ifeoma's control. Public exposure wasn't about revenge. It was about justice and safety. Legal action would ensure that the threats and lies could no longer harm her. Amara began planning her next steps with precision. She thought about how to present the evidence, how to confront Mama Ifeoma, and how to make sure Chike truly understood the depth of his mother's manipulation. For the first time in weeks, she felt in control, not just of the situation, but of her own life. The fear that had once consumed her was replaced by clarity, courage, and a burning determination to protect her family. That night, as Lagos lights flickered outside the window, Amara sat with her phone in her hand. reviewing the recordings one last time. She felt a strange mix of anger and relief. Anger at the betrayal, but relief that she had taken the first real steps toward reclaiming her life. Whatever came next, she knew she would face it head-on. With the truth on her side and Zuri's unwavering support, Amara was ready to turn the tide. She was no longer a victim. She was a fighter. Amara asked Chaik to meet her in private, away from the tense atmosphere of the house and the prying eyes of Mama Ifeoma. As soon as they were alone, she took a deep breath and opened her laptop, showing him the messages, emails, and recordings she had carefully collected. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the mix of nerves and anticipation. Chaik stared at the screen, his eyes widening with each message and recording. The smug confidence he had inherited from his mother faltered as he realized the truth. The accusations, the threats, the attempts to control and isolate Amara, they were all orchestrated. His mother had been manipulating him and everyone around her for years. When Chaik finally confronted Mama Ifeoma, she tried to deny everything. Her voice was sharp, defensive, even a little theatrical, as if playing a part in some twisted drama. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "You're imagining things." Amara stayed calm, her voice steady and clear. She exposed every proof she had: the threatening messages, the payments she had never received but were promised, the recordings of her mother-in-law's attempts to control her life and sabotage her marriage. She didn't shout. She didn't plead. She simply presented the facts, letting the evidence speak for itself. Chaik's face fell as the reality sank in. The mother he had always defended, the woman he had trusted without question, was not the person he thought she was. He felt betrayed, angry, and ashamed all at once, but he also felt a new sense of clarity. For the first time, he could see the extent of Mama Ifeoma's manipulation and the harm it had caused. Tensions rose in the room as Mama Ifeoma realized her schemes were unraveling. Amara's calm, composed demeanor made her feel small, powerless, and frustrated. She tried one last attempt at intimidation, but Amara's dignity and preparation left her with no room to maneuver. Reluctantly, she retreated temporarily, her confident front faltering as she recognized that the battle was no longer in her favor. Amara exhaled slowly, her chest heavy but her spirit lighter. She had faced the storm, and for the first time, she could see the path ahead with Chaik now fully understanding her truth. The confrontation was just the beginning, but it had already shifted the balance, and Amara knew she had won a crucial first victory. With Zuri by her side, Amara felt a sense of strength she hadn't felt in. They were ready to take the next step: legal action. Zuri explained every detail of the process, reassuring Amara that she had a solid case. They filed for a restraining order against Mama Ifeoma, ensuring that she could no longer threaten, intimidate, or approach Amara or her unborn child. But Zuri didn't stop there. She also helped Amara secure her rights over her property and protect her financial independence, making sure that Mama Ifeoma could no longer use money or possessions as a weapon against her. The day of the court hearing was tense. Amara's stomach fluttered with nerves, but she held her head high. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for her child, for her dignity, and for the future she had always dreamed of. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as the evidence was presented. Screenshots of threatening messages, video recordings of manipulative conversations, and testimonies from friends and family who had witnessed Mama Ifeoma's behavior. Each piece of proof painted a clear picture of repeated intimidation and control. Mama Ifeoma tried to defend herself, her voice wavering as she denied everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge listened carefully, asking questions, weighing the facts, and taking note of Amara's composure. It became clear that this was not a simple family disagreement. It was a case of harassment and manipulation. Finally, the verdict was announced. The judge ruled entirely in Amara's favor. Mama Ifeoma was legally restricted from approaching or contacting her, and Amara's rights over her home, finances, and personal safety were fully protected. Relief washed over her like a wave, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to breathe deeply, feeling a mix of victory and liberation. Zuri squeezed her hand, smiling proudly. "You did it," she said softly. "You didn't let fear or manipulation win." Amara looked down at her growing belly, thinking of the little life inside her, and felt a rush of determination. She had taken control of her story, defended her dignity, and created a safe space for her child. This was more than a legal victory. It was an emotional triumph, proof that courage, truth, and preparation could overcome even the most powerful attempts at control. And in that moment, Amara realized she was ready to move forward, stronger and wiser than ever before. After the court victory, Amara knew it was time to reclaim her story. She didn't want to boast or attack anyone. She wanted to share the truth, carefully and honestly. She started by speaking with close friends and family, telling them everything that had happened, the accusations, the threats, the manipulations, and how she had fought back. Her words were steady, her tone calm, but behind them was the quiet power of someone who had endured and refused to be broken. Her story didn't stay private for long. One of her friends shared it in a community group, and soon, it began spreading across social media. Messages poured in from women in Lagos, Nigeria, and beyond, strangers who had faced similar struggles with controlling in-laws, manipulation, and family pressure. They praised her courage, her intelligence, and her determination to stand up for herself and her unborn child. Some shared their own experiences, thanking Amara for giving them hope that they too could fight back. Comments of support came not just from women, but also from men who admired her strength and fairness. People were inspired by the way she had combined calm, dignity, and strategy, turning what could have been a moment of shame into an empowering story of resilience. Amara realized that by speaking out, she was helping others find their voices, showing that toxic family dynamics could be challenged without losing one's integrity. Even local news outlets picked up her story, highlighting her bravery and the importance of protecting women and children from manipulation and abuse. Amara didn't crave the attention. She wanted the message to reach people who needed it most. As she scrolled through the flood of messages and comments, Amara felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The fear and pain that had once consumed her were replaced by connection and community. She had turned a personal ordeal into a source of inspiration. She wasn't just surviving, she was helping others rise as well. In that moment, Amara understood something powerful. Courage was contagious. Speaking the truth didn't just protect her life and her child. It had the power to change minds, encourage others to stand up, and create a wave of strength that could not be silenced. And with that realization, she smiled, ready to embrace the next chapter of her life, knowing she was no longer alone. After the whirlwind of revelations and court battles, Chaik finally sat down with Amara, his eyes full of regret. "I'm so sorry, Amara," he said quietly. "I should have seen the truth sooner. I let my loyalty to my mother blind me, and I hurt you. I promise from now on, I'm on your side completely." His voice shook with sincerity, and Amara could see that he truly understood the pain she had endured. Not just from Mama Ifeoma, but from being left to question herself, her choices, and her. Amara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had longed for her husband's support, and now she had it fully, without hesitation or doubt. Chaik had learned a hard lesson about boundaries, loyalty, and the dangers of blind family allegiance. He pledged to protect their marriage, their home, and their growing family from any future manipulation. But Amara knew reconciliation didn't mean opening the door to abuse. With calm but firm determination, she set clear boundaries with Mama Ifeoma. No more threats, no more intimidation, no more interference. Mama Ifeoma could no longer control their lives or make decisions for them. Amara's voice was steady as she communicated her limits, and this time, Mama Ifeoma had no choice but to respect them, legally and emotionally. The focus of their lives shifted from conflict to healing. Amara and Chaik worked together to rebuild trust, strengthen their relationship, and create a safe, nurturing environment for their child. They spent time talking, laughing, and planning for the future, consciously leaving behind the fear and tension that had once filled their home. Amara also took steps to reform the family dynamic, ensuring that communication was open, honest, and respectful. She realized that protecting herself wasn't just about legal action. It was about establishing healthy patterns, boundaries, and expectations for everyone involved. As her belly grew heavier and the due date approached, Amara felt a renewed sense of peace and purpose. She had faced manipulation, intimidation, and betrayal, but she had come through stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Now, surrounded by a supportive husband and a clear set of boundaries, she could focus on the most important thing, the new life they were about to welcome, a life born into love, safety, and respect. The day Amara gave birth was one she would never forget. Surrounded by loyal friends and supportive family members, she held her healthy baby in her arms for the first time. The tiny heartbeat against her chest, the soft coos, and the warmth of new life filled her with a joy she had fought so hard to protect. Every tear, every sleepless night, every struggle now felt worth it. But Amara didn't stop there. She knew her journey wasn't just about her own victory. It was about helping other women find their voices and stand strong. With the support of Zuri and her friends, she launched a community initiative in Lagos aimed at teaching women how to protect their finances, understand their rights, and maintain emotional health, even when facing toxic family interference. Workshops, online seminars, and community meetups became her way of turning personal pain into collective power. Her story quickly spread beyond Lagos. Social media shared her journey, Community groups discussed it, and women across Africa reached out, inspired by her courage and determination. Messages poured in from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and beyond, women who had faced manipulation, betrayal, or abuse, thanking Amara for showing them that standing up for yourself was not only possible but necessary. Through it all, Amara carried a simple message that had guided her every step. Respect cannot be bought. Truth cannot be silenced. Courage changes everything. It was more than words. It was a principle she lived by and a lesson she wanted every woman to know. As she looked at her baby sleeping peacefully, Amara felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had reclaimed her life, protected her child, and turned a painful chapter into a legacy of strength and empowerment. The storm had passed, but the new life she had built, full of courage, love, and hope, was only beginning.